So for job number 2, I interviewed with a doctor and her husband. She was a hematology, oncology, and primary care internal medicine doc. Her husband was the office manager. So they were like an older couple. I found them to be really sweet. They explained everything to me about the job. They explained to me that I had to sign a contract for 2 years. They went over my schedule with me, expectations. Um, at that point, I had a lot to think about as far as the job, only because of signing a 2-year contract. So I went home, I thought about it, and I decided, hey, this is a good opportunity. I'll take it. I'll learn everything. You need about 2 years just to be to say that you have experience as an MP. So I thought, hey, what could it hurt? What could go wrong signing a 2-year contract? I need a job, right? So by the end of that night, I did sign the contract. I sent it over to them, and I started within 2 weeks. So the orientation was about 45 minutes with the doctor. She just quickly saw 2 patients with me, gave me a list of the office rules, like do not prescribe amoxicillin, showed me how to write 1 script with 1 medication, and told me not to worry. She would help me with everything. Just call her if I have any questions. I felt okay. I felt okay about the job. I was gonna have support. That was the main thing that I was missing from the first job, right? So the first day on the job, I was in the office alone. I saw about 15 to 18 patients, if I can remember. I cannot tell you what happened in that office that day on my first day. At the end of the day, I checked labs. I did Coumadin orders where I would call the doctor with the office manager to go over Coumadin orders with the INR checks. I was finished by 1 p.m. and I went to 2 nursing homes after that on my first day. I was credentialed in the nursing homes, but I wasn't credentialed in the hospitals yet. I went home, I looked up everything I didn't know. I made cheat sheets to help me out for the next day. How to manage blood pressures, how to manage a basic cold, how to manage someone that comes in with leg pain, how to manage the flu, give Tamiflu, whatever. Things like that. But at that time, I didn't know how to do those basic things. It was really hard for me. I had to think, or I had to look it up. So I didn't want to be looking things up in front of the patient. I wanted to kind of give the patient more confidence that I knew something that I was doing. So I went home and I developed a plan for managing things. A lot of like the diabetes, the hypertension, and the cholesterol patients, they were already on medication. So it was a matter of looking in the chart and just refilling their medications. That was pretty easy. I think I learned how to write prescriptions just because I had to refill a lot of medications every day. Like by the 3rd or 4th day, I knew I was an expert at writing prescriptions. And plus with the pharmacy calling to say, hey, what did you mean here? What did you do? You kind of learn like that, because the pharmacy will call you. And they're never mean when they call you. It's just a matter of, hey, did you mean this? Or, hey, do you think that you should do this? This is the recommendation for this. So I learned a lot through pharmacy calls. I came back the next day a better MP. I would call the doctor if I had any questions or if I got stuck with anything. I was excited about the opportunity. I was credentialed at about 4 nursing homes at this point. I was still waiting for the 2 hospitals to be credentialed in. So I was only rounding in the nursing homes after I was finished with the office for the day. It was about 8 facilities altogether when you add it all up in total that we were responsible for rounding in, between nursing homes and some of the subacute hospitals inside the actual hospital. The doctor, she ran a really tight ship. She was strict when it came to her staff. I kind of liked it. I like structure. and I respected it. Um, she was welcoming to the fact that I had to learn, that I didn't know anything. She knew I didn't know anything, and she accepted this, and she was willing to train and teach me. And she was willing to answer any question I had when I called her. I liked that. It made me feel a lot more comfortable. Even though she wasn't right next to me and I was by myself, I can step out the room. I can say to the patient, oh, give me 1 second. And I would call the doctor, or I would text the doctor, and she would get right back to me right away. It was a great opportunity in my mind. And I really don't mind working hard. I don't mind working hard at all. So let's talk about the initial schedule. So this is the schedule that was presented to me in the interview. I was going to work every other Saturday and be off every other Wednesday. And it looked like I was off every Sunday. So here we have the contract for the job. Okay, this kind of discuss the penalties for leaving early. And when you do leave, or if your 2 years is up, the penalty for working within a 10 miles radius. This kind of went over all of the fees and charges that would be penalized if you were to leave. So as I became credentialed at all the facilities, including the hospitals and the nursing homes, my time management changed drastically. It was taking me longer to get through the day. I would see the office patients from 8 a.m. to about 12 or 1 p.m. Then I would have to go to the nursing homes after the office. And then I would have to go to the hospitals. Well, just one hospital I would round in during the week, Monday through Friday. I would go to that hospital and round on those patients. And that one hospital had 2 units within it, like LTAC and Care Connection. It was inside of that hospital. So it was 3 facilities in one, if you want to say it like that. So then I would be home by 7 or 8 p.m. And this was becoming overwhelming. Getting home that late, waking up again early in the morning to come back to work, that's a long day. The staff kept changing in the office. For whatever reason, there was a lot of turnover. I really didn't get involved in the doctor staff issues. It wasn't my problem. I was the NP. I wanted to see my patients, and I wanted to get out of there so I can get home at the end of the day. That was my only focus. Even though I treated the staff nice and they treated me nicely, I didn't get involved in the doctor MD issue. So it was a lot of turnover. The staff was not happy. I focused on doing my job and taking care of the patients. After a couple months, I was getting faster at seeing the patients, right? So at 8 o'clock in the morning, I would start seeing my patients. I'd be done by 10 or 11. I can get through them pretty quick. I knew what was going on with them. I was seeing some of them over and over. Some of them I'm just refilling medication. Some of them just need labs. So it wasn't that much to do. I knew them. I knew what I did the last time. So of course you're gonna be quicker and quicker, you know. The doctor didn't like this for some reason. She didn't want me finishing quickly. And maybe, I don't know, other NPs, they didn't necessarily finish this fast. I don't know. So she started being manipulative to kind of slow me down, to say, hey, you can't leave the office before 1 or before 2 because legally or insurance purposes, we're open till 6. So you have to stay there till a certain time. So she would kind of check in with the office staff, like, hey, Cheryl, did Cheryl check her labs? Did Cheryl check her imaging studies? It was like a box on my desk all my labs would come in paper, and all my diagnostic studies would come in also on paper through the fax. So at the end of the day, I would check my labs, whatever's abnormal, if I needed to call in potassium, if I needed to call in this patient to go to the hospital for whatever reason, rare. But, if their white blood cells are elevated, call them for a sooner appointment. If their liver enzymes or their kidney function is off, call them in for sooner appointments. I would address those things. Mostly the labs were not acute. So it's not nothing I needed to call the patient for, but I would just check them. I would write notes on all my labs okay, This is da. And I would know what I'm gonna do when they come back in. I already have the plan on the labs. I wrote them out. So, that would be complete. My desk would be cleaned off. I didn't leave any work behind. After a while, I was doing Coumadin INR orders on my own. I know how to do that. I didn't have to call the doctor for that. So there was nothing much to do. I did my job before I left, thoroughly. I have like OCD. I want to do things and I want to do them right. You don't have to tell me. So she would start telling the staff, oh, the NP can't leave without checking her labs. The NP can't leave without checking her diagnostics. So then she would have the staff asking me, did you do it? Like, I'm like, listen, you don't need to come up to me and ask me, did I do my job? That's not what we're doing here. That is so inappropriate, especially I'm a good worker and I'm doing my job. And then secondly, I'm the NP, not to say I'm better than anyone, but you don't come tell me what I need to do as an NP. I'm the one that has the license here, So I just didn't find that appropriate. First of all, if you are having a problem with me, you need to talk to me as the doctor. Don't send your staff to talk to me. That's not appropriate. Me and you, we have the collaborative agreement. Me and you need to talk about it. That's it. So it was always a new reason why I could not leave the office. Always a new reason. I began pitting the staff against me. And began micromanaging me in just such a negative way. So unnecessary. If I'm done with the office, let me move on to my next task, right? I have a million tasks to do for the day. I got to go to the nursing home. I could see up to 2 to 3 nursing homes that day before I get to the hospital, which you could have about, 10 patients there. That's a lot for a new nurse practitioner, managing 10 patients in the hospital, acute care, especially when you don't have acute care background. So you have to pay attention to everything and it becomes a little complicated, right? So, you have to dictate your notes on the phone. That's new. That's hard. That can be very, very scary, especially you don't know what you're talking about. Yet you're on the phone dictating your note. And so it takes you a while to prepare what you're going to say on that phone. Because once you get on that dictation, in a way, that's it. Like, okay, you got to be ready to dictate that. No, hey, this patient, an 86-year-old with a past medical history of CHF, blah, 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 hyperlipidemia, blah, 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 past medical history, past surgical history, social history, allergies. You have to include the laboratory, the radiographic. Then you have to go into your plan and assessment, And that's probably the hard part, the plan and assessment. Okay, what am I going to do? Patients coming in with right leg swelling. Okay, DVT studies negative, x-ray, blah, 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 pain management. Look at the labs. Do they have any acute issues such as is their creatinine elevated? Do you want to start fluids? So the whole plan becomes the hard part, in the hospital. That could take you a long time when you're new. You don't know what to do. You might not even know how to recognize some stuff. You'll miss a lot of things. So, I had a lot to do in one day and I just wanted to get to it. So the doctor stated that I was slated to work until 6 p.m. every day, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that wasn't the deal when I was hired. The deal is we'll work until the job is finished, in a sense. Like, yeah, let's get this job done, but not like to deliberately try to make me stay till 6. I don't work 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. I didn't sign up for that. But I did sign up to finish the job, which I'm doing, right? So if I'm doing the job, let me do it and let me get home. I don't want to mess around. I have a family at home, I want to get home. So I didn't enjoy this. I found that it was completely unnecessary. It's one thing to be at work until 6 p.m. because there's work to do, but to deliberately create extra work, that I just couldn't tolerate that. So I'm going to show you the schedule that I was actually working every day. So here we have the actual schedule. I was actually keeping track of the times I was coming in and leaving. So this was the actual schedule after a couple months of me actually being credentialed at all the facilities and hospitals. So I was no longer off on Sundays. It was every other Sunday, every other Saturday as well, and every other Wednesday. So you can see that one week I was off 2 days. The next week I was off 1 day a week, working, averaging almost 50 to 60 hours a week. I was more exhausted than anything. Um, I didn't sign up for it. I remember once I was 10 minutes late to work, 10 minutes to the hospital. Now on Thursdays, the job doesn't start till 9 a.m. I mean, yeah, 9 a.m. versus 8 a.m., but the office doesn't open till 2 p.m. So you go to the hospital first on Thursdays. She wants you there by 9, and then the office doesn't close till about 6 or 7 p.m. So then you're there at work from 9 a.m. to about 7 or 8 p.m. on a Thursday. So I was about 10 minutes late, and I might have not been late. I actually might have called her 10 minutes late. I got to the hospital and I started looking through the charts. I was actually there like at 9:02. I called her at 9:10, but she called me on the phone before I could even call her, and she starts yelling. Like, this is unacceptable. You're late to work. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not late to work. I'm actually very early. I'm probably not supposed to be here till 11 o'clock because I only work 8 hours a day. You know, technically I'm very early. You should never call me and tell me I'm late. So we kind of got into a tiff there. The husband got on the phone. That's her security guard. And, just kind of explained that, he was explaining that I don't know anything. Therefore, I have to work a lot of hours and, just a bunch of nonsense that I didn't want to hear. It just sounded like crap to me. It's ridiculous. So, we were having these back and forth issues. I was developing a distaste in my mouth for the job. I just didn't want to work the long hours. And more than anything, I wanted to have 2 days off a week, not 2 days off one week, 1 day off another week. I was getting burnt out, So we had a meeting after that Thursday because we just kind of got into it. And, I'm a very nice, respectful person until I'm not. In a sense, I'm going to defend myself. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And so, we had a meeting after that and to discuss like, what's the problem? And, what am I struggling with, which is, the unnecessary micromanagement is out of control. I know what my job is for the day. Let me do it. Don't stop me from leaving the office for silly things, just because you don't want me leaving work any earlier than 6 p.m. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So, maybe in their mind, whatever they're paying me, I need to make sure I work for it. I don't know, but 8 hours a day is good enough, I think. So, we had that meeting. The husband kind of told her like, yeah, maybe you need to just back off. Leave her be. Allow her to do her work. She'll call you when she gets to the hospital, when she's ready to go over the patients in the hospital for the day. But besides that, let me go to the office. I know what nursing homes I needed to go to at this point. I was managing it. I went to the nursing homes every day. So I knew what to do. It was nothing different, So, at that point, I thought, okay, maybe this can work. We have an agreement. But not so much. She just couldn't stop. She couldn't stop. She kept on with the micromanagement, the BS, the lying, I call it. Just lie and manipulative for no reason. I'm a good worker. You don't have to behave like that. So I put in a notice. I put in a 30-day notice. I might have put in a 90-day notice. And I explained to them, I'm not going to be able to, do the job. I was going to break the contract. I don't care. I care, but I can't live like that. I was really miserable, unhappy. So I just had enough. So they had a meeting with me, asked me to meet them one day after the office at Dunkin' Donuts. We had another chat. To me it goes, well, they're very good at manipulating, almost like an abusive relationship. You think, okay, they said they're going to change. They said they're going to stop, and then after you accept and you say, okay, yeah, all right, we can keep together. Then the abuse starts again. And that's exactly what happened. It was abuse, if you ask me. So, like I said, things still wasn't getting better. The staffing wasn't the same. It made my job extremely hard. They were teaching the staff to undermine me. They were told to report what time I was getting to work. Mind you, I'm at work before anybody gets there. I'm waiting outside for the staff to come in because I don't have a key. you know? So I'm out there waiting 15, 20 minutes to come into the office when I could be, it's a lot. I'm sure there's more labs for me to check or some charts that I might want to go over before the day starts, anything, you know? But not that I needed to do that, because at this point, I got used to not checking charts before. Like, I don't need to check the chart for the previous day. I mean, prior to the patients coming in the next day, I don't need to do that. I've learned to manage patients on the fly. You know, you could tell me what's going on and I can manage it. You know, I don't need to do research before I see the patient the next day. We're beyond that. You should have did that. You know, that should have been something I could do when I first started. So I was waiting for them outside, like I said, and you're telling them to report what time I get to work. Unnecessary, just unnecessary. It was just becoming an unbearable environment. I was a good worker and I was willing to work. I actually liked my job. I liked internal medicine. I enjoyed primary care. I actually helped a lot of patients and I actually learned a lot. The first job did help me to come in and do what I'm doing in the second job. And this doctor was very helpful. And, you know, if you call her, she'll teach you. You know, I learned a lot about managing the hematologic issues because she's a hematologist. Not so much oncology. She didn't let me practice oncology. You know, that's a different ball game. So, but, you know, I learned a lot. So with the expectations that I had to work so many hours and with the micromanagement, I actually asked, can I have the extra day off that I need every other week, the weeks that you only have me off one day per week? And the husband felt like, no, why do you think you need the extra day off? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, no, this is the schedule. You don't deserve an extra day off. That's not what we do here. And that's probably all I was really asking for, is an extra day off. You know, that's it. And yeah, let me go home when I'm done with my job. I don't want to have to argue with you every time it's time for me to go home, because I'm going home. I eventually just had enough. I gave an immediate notice one day after work with no intent to return. I think it was a Friday. I was due back on a Monday. I was like, I am out of here. I wrote them a note. They called me on the phone like, oh, you can't do this, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this. It's done. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do anything about it because I've tried talking about it twice already. We've had 2 meetings and nothing's changing. I'm not getting back into, I just want to be done with the whole situation. And, you know, at the end of that, I blocked all their numbers. I blocked all contact because she was calling. She was calling and calling and then calling from the facilities. And there's a lot of people that I knew in the facilities. I was cool with like some of the nursing directors, still friends with a lot of them. And we still talk back and forth now. And they would say, oh, she was saying, oh, you know, she went on vacation. She'll be back. So I think her plan was to kind of manipulate me into like changing my mind to officially come back. But I was beyond that. I was done with it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And at the end of it all, being the vindictive person that she was, she did try to sue me for breaking the 2-year contract. So she did try to sue me. I'm not going to say she was successful. I got a lawyer and I took good care of it. And so that's beneath me, and I'll never sign another contract again. So the main theme of this job is do not sign contracts that don't allow you to leave. Don't ever, ever, ever do that. It should be a big red flag to you. I even spoke to some of the previous nurse practitioners because I thought that I was crazy. I'm like, I must be terrible. I mean, I must be a terrible person. I must be a terrible NP. But when I talked to the previous NPs, the one NP that stayed there for the whole 2 years, I got in contact with her. She told me, you know, she was a fool for staying, and she advised that I leave. And this was like a month or so prior to me actually leaving. I'm like, well, she did it. Why can't I do it? You know, she made it for 2 years. Cause I'm like, well, why is she telling me to leave? But she did it for 2 years. How did you do it? She's like, it's always going to be something with them. She said she said she would go into the bathroom in the hospital after she was done her work and just kind of hide there. Instead of going home because, you know, the doctor didn't want her to go home for no good reason, you know, after she's finished her job. So, she said she was just a fool for how she worked at. And she's an experienced MP now. So when I spoke to her, at this point, she had been an MP for 3-4 years. So she said that she was a fool for staying, and she advised me to get out of there. And even before that, the previous MP, I talked to 2 MPs. The one right before me, and this one was the one that lasted for 2 years. But the one right before me, that I probably took her position, she quit on the spot the same day. She walked out and never came back. I called her to see what happened as well, because the people in the office, they had their numbers. So luckily for me, I was able to get the numbers from them and reach out after a while. I just needed to know what was going on, what was the problem. And she told me as well, like, all the yelling, the doctor was always yelling at her. She expected her to stay there past a certain time. And she said it's just something she couldn't do. And just the one day they got into it because it was like 5:30 p.m. and or 5 o'clock, and the doctor wanted her to go to one of the hospitals to just look through charts for no reason. And when, instead of saying go home, and the MP's like, no, I'm going home. And so, they kind of got into it, and the MP was like, you know what? No, this is not going to work. I'm not going to do this. This is ridiculous. So, at the end of it, I didn't feel as crazy for what I did or for leaving. I did try, but the basis of it is don't ever, ever, ever sign a contract that doesn't allow you to leave. And try to talk to the other MPs that worked there before, if you can. I couldn't for this place. They weren't nowhere to be found, or the doctors didn't really let me interact with the staff or the previous staff. So I'm gonna show you the actual letter that they sent me, saying they were suing me and I had to a certain amount of time to pay. And like I said, I did get a lawyer and I took care of this. And now you know for next time. Never sign a contract. So this is the letter that they sent saying that I owed them $45,750. I just kind of blanked everything out to just respect the hospital names and the practice name for privacy rights. So $45,750 is the price that was over my head.